number 21 kart, Clayton Ravenscroft in the number 75 Coles Racing kart, who has also been right on the pace all weekend until a late race retirement in the pre-final. He is up to 14th. And Butterfield is keeping Patterson at arm's length. He's not pulling away, but he is not under pressure. And the rest of the field are still very close as they completed lap 3. The top 15 are all within 5 seconds. And, problem there for the number 24 kart. That is Ben Fayers of the Project 1 team. He was trying to defend his position against Tom Canning, and just clipped another kart that was also trying to pass him. And Kieran Jeremy, well, if those of you watching live timing and scoring, and you're concerned about Kieran Jeremy, why his name keeps flashing up and down the scoring monitor, it's obviously a problem with his transponder, and Tag Heuer, who are here, are manually adjusting it all the time. Well, Butterfield now has his teammates Patterson and Hannafin behind him. Bunce is 4th. Edgar fighting back to 5th. 6th is Kieran Jeremy. Then Brandon Martland is still there. And all that the Coles Racing team will be concerned with is that when Patterson and Edgar came together and Edgar's nose cone kind of hooked up to the rear bumper of Patterson's kart, did anything happen to the drop-down element? And it is, on one hand, the nose cone rule in karting is stopping the amount of first corner crashing, but then you're never quite sure. The order in which they take the checkered flag is the order in which they're going to appear on the podium, which can be a little bit disconcerting if you're trying to explain the sport to a new audience, for example. Well, there's no... third place changes hands at the first hairpin. Hannafin gets dispatched. Edgar then decides, I've had enough of following you as well, Mr. Finley Bunce, into third place. And I would imagine that Johnny Edgar is now got the red mist down and is going to be on a charge to the front. Butterfield and Patterson are nose to tail. Edgar now into P3 in the number 47 kart. Will get a gap next time around. Bunce is 4th. They cross the line. 9 minutes to go. And the gap is 9/10 of a second between race leader Jensen Butterfield and Johnny Edgar in 3rd place. Bunce and Hannafin round out the top 5. Well, Bunce is following Johnny Edgar. There's a gap back to Lorcan and Hannafin I think has lost that position as they come down the hill. He has. Into 5th position now has come Kieran Jeremy in the second of the white and black Thule Motorsport karts. Then it's Hannafin in 6th. Then behind him it's the HRS engines number 95 of Kai Hunter. Clayton Ravenscroft is up into 9th place now. Oh, actually, it's Brandon Martland, I apologise, in 8th place. So Martland briefly into the top 6. He's got to put together another solid 8 minutes though. He's in 8th. Ravenscroft is up to 9th. And Dominic Bush is 10th. Tom Canning, well, he's now 13th. Is not making as rapid a progress as I would have thought. He there moves past Dominic Bush into 11th. So he's almost broken into the top 10. But I think Tom Canning is coming up on drivers. And even though we're in the early stages of a major event, they're all defending for their lives. And it's not as easy as Canning hoped for. Edgar and Bunce still 9/10 off the lead last time around. I think that Edgar might have been a fraction faster. And he's got help from Finley Bunce. That number 58 Thule kart is not playing a supporting role. It's got potential winning pace. But Butterfield and Patterson driving very, very sensibly as they come into the Mike Wilson complex. See, Jensen Butterfield, he won 2 of his 4 heats and has kept his cool. Patterson. Dexter Patterson. 2 runner-up finishes in his heats. Hasn't won a race yet this weekend. Brandon Martland comes off the bridge in 2, 4, 6, 8th place. And Tom Canning passes the number 75 Kart of Clayton Ravenscroft at the first hairpin there to move into 9th position. And I may have spoken a bit too soon when I dismissed Canning's charge up through the field, because we've got 6 minutes to go and the number 21 KR Sport Kart is 4.5 seconds behind race leader Jensen Butterfield. And I did notice last time around, as they headed down the hill towards the first hairpin, for the first time Dexter Patterson really moved up on the rear bumper of Butterfield and almost contemplated a little lunge into the first hairpin. Is that a sign that Butterfield's pace isn't as strong? Well, the lap times tell you 61.75 last time around for Butterfield, 61.54 for Johnny Edgar, a 61.43 for Tom Canning. And now that Canning is in a bit of clear air, you can see the leader's not too far away. That will give him a tremendous boost. Edgar and Bunce are closing in. The biggest gap amongst the leaders is between the top 4 and the number 23 of Lorcan Hannaford in 5th. He's got Kieran Jeremy, Kai Hunter, Brandon Martland, and soon to be Tom Canning breathing down his neck, with Ravenscroft rounding out the top 10 ahead of Dominic Bush. Joe Ellison in 12th. Oakley Pryor is 13th. Owen Johnson 14th. The top 15 rounded out by Piers Henderson. Next is Ben Burgess for Coles Racing, then Ben Fayers, Lewis Gilbert, Jack Martin, and the top 20 is rounded out by Sam Harrison, Suleiman Zanfari, Matthew Hudson, Josh Torpey, Carl O'Brien and Con Davitt are the remaining runners. All 25 drivers still going. The gap between first and second is 0.6 of a second, and Tom Canning sets another new fastest lap, 61.30. And Canning has already moved past Martland into 8th place. And the lead 4 drivers go into the Fullerton S's almost nose to tail. Lorcan Hannafin loses 5th to Kieran Jeremy. And 5th place battle is now 2.5 seconds behind the lead quartet. On to the start-finish straight. Past the grandstand. Butterfield, Patterson, Edgar and Bunce. Then Hannafin, and up into 6th place now comes Kai Hunter. So Hannafin has regained 5th place. Hunter up into a race best 6th so far. Jeremy is 7th, Canning 8th, and Ravenscroft 9th. Brandon Martland is 10th. And behind the top 10, Dominic Bush, Joe Ellison, Oakley Pryor are trying to join the fun as well. There goes Ellison up the inside, following Pryor through, picking up a place in the first hairpin. Canning is up into P6. So he has successfully negotiated what looked like was about to become a bit of a dust-up, I have to say. And Canning is pushing on. He's pushing along. The one driver in front of him, and he's still got a bit of clean air. The top 4, though, are well clear now. And they will probably remain well clear until Jensen Butterfield starts to defend with 2.5 minutes to go. And as I say that, Butterfield cuts the inside, running down through the first corner, and Canning dives at the inside of Hannafin for 5th, going into the Bruno Ferrari chicane. Brave move, well executed by Tom Canning. Last to 5th, 2 minutes to go. Butterfield begins to defend. Patterson doesn't follow him in deep. He's going to try the undercut. Finley Bunce has got past Johnny Edgar for 3rd. And now Dexter Patterson takes the lead away from Jensen Butterfield, and Butterfield is going to lose 2nd to Finley Bunce. He's going to lose 3rd to Johnny Edgar. And Patterson has 1st place for the first time pretty much all weekend. We've only got 1.5 minutes to go in the final itself. Finley Bunce now runs in second. Edgar is back to third. That little change of positions. In the back of the TV screen, you see that pink and purple cart. That's Tom Canning. He started 25th. He begins lap number 14 in 5th position, less than 2 seconds off the lead. Last year, in this class, Cian Jewis went from last to first. There weren't as many carts last year, but it was last to first. Well, don't breathe it, but Tom Canning will be thinking, oh, this is on. Bunce leads. And it's going to be on because suddenly the top 7 are now all together. Bunce, Patterson, round the outside goes Johnny Edgar of Jensen Butterfield for third. Edgar on the grass. Canning thinks about making a move but hasn't got space. Lots of other battles going on, but the lead battle is the one that's important. Finley Bunce has it. Patterson in the number 11 cart second. Butterfield is third. Bunce gets a warning flag. Patterson clatters across the curbs at the Mike Wilson complex. Here they come. On to the start-finish straight. 20 seconds to go. Change of lead. Patterson slipstreams past Bunce going into turn number 1. They're out onto the banking. And there's 8 of them in a big clump with more bidding to join the party at the last minute. Patterson defends into turn number 1. Into the first hairpin, rather. Butterfield second. Bunce third. Edgar on the grass again. This time as Clayton Ravenscroft comes through. Let's not forget that Ravenscroft in the 75, he started back on row 11. Canning passes Edgar for 5th. And behind them, there's another 2, 4, 6, 7 drivers in close attendance, all the way back to Kai Hunter, who has now fallen to 14th. 14 drivers in a line as the last lap board goes out now. Patterson has the advantage. Butterfield and Bunce are the first drivers to have a go. On to the banking. Patterson defends the inside line in 4th place. Clayton Ravenscroft takes it high, wide and handsome on the banking. He's going to get a monstrous run. Is Ravenscroft down the hill, but he can't make it work because there's carts everywhere. Defending. Into the first hairpin. There he goes. Round the outside. Is he going to get squeezed onto the grass? Almost. Canning loses momentum. Into the second hairpin. Patterson leads from Butterfield, Bunce, side by side, Ravenscroft and Edgar, and then Canning. Behind them, it is, I think, Hannafin or Bush or Martland. It's hard to tell, but they go into the Bobby Game corner and now around the Mike Wilson complex. Dexter Patterson will lead the field onto the last straight, and I don't think Jensen Butterfield is close enough, or is he? Checkered flag goes out. Patterson wins. Butterfield second, Bunce on the podium, Ravenscroft from 22nd to 4th. Well done, Clayton Ravenscroft. Tom Canning, 25th to 5th. Lorcan Hannafin comes home in 6th position. Johnny Edgar finishes in 7th. Kieran Jeremy wasn't going to be 2 titles in 2 years. He finishes 8th. Dominic Bush is 9th in the top 10. And I'll tell you now, the top 10 was covered by 2.3 seconds at the end. The top 10 completed by the number 85 Mark Baines Motorsport Kart of Joe Ellison. Owen Johnson finishes 11th. Brandon Martland for Dan Holland Racing in the number 62 kart slips to 12th right at the end there. Oakley Pryor 13th, Kai Hunter 14th, and the top 15 rounded out by Piers Henderson, Ben Fayers, Lewis Gilbert, Ben Burgess, Jack Martin, and from Jadida, Suleiman Zanfar.